welcome to New Dawn Nigeria on Viewer Television, our weekly magazine program where we keep you updated on the things that have ensued in the country in the past week. And my name is Chinonso Pam. It's always an honor to do this with you.
I am Phillips Living, of course, always at your service. And as usual, this is packed up to make your day a very, very wonderful one. Of course, we have different segments where we'll dish out interesting futures for you, all just so we can make your day perfect. But remember this, of course, you can get us on also our social media platforms. Now, as usual, on this platform, we'll look at a few stories that have been going around from the national dailies, and of course, we'll have an interesting exclusive.
Yeah.
And also, we have other packages all packed up for you. So all I have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy every bit of it. Well, it's wonderful that you are still with us. Well, this is still New Dawn. By the way, happy new month, happy new quarter rather, before 2023 will be done and dusted. Now, as usual, we look at a few stories from few selected national dailies that we have in Nigeria. And of course, we give you a summary and also a little bit of discussion regarding that. And we are looking at August 28th, that's Monday, to 1st of September, yeah?
Yeah.
1st of September, we'll be giving you the stories that have been making headlines. So if any of those stories interest or intrigue you, draw by any vendor clues, you get a copy, and of course find out more about that. Or you can as well go to their platform, that's their online platform, of course, get those stories there. Now we'll start with the top story for the 28th day of August 2023, where President Bola Tinubu has said the country cannot continue to service its debt with 90% of its revenue. Imagine if you are giving out 90%. What are you saving? What's in? Maybe at the end of the debt, you have to borrow another debt. You have to go into another debt, rather, just so you can meet up with the demands. And I see a point from where he's coming.
Yeah, because this is making a case for why they would have to withdraw subsidies, because this is where all the country's revenue is going into, because we're borrowing to pay subsidy and we still get to pay back.
So you still think they're bringing back subsidy?
No. So I'm saying this is what is making the case for why they have to remove the subsidies. Because you know the claim is that we are borrowing for these subsidies, and at the end of the day we still get to pay, so it still falls back on us. So why do we even just do that?
I think this is a long term, you understand, a plan where it could work out gradually, not something that let's say the Nigerians are expecting it to just work immediately. Alright, forward we move. The Nigerian Navy has vowed to fish out, arrest and persecute fleeing owners of abandoned seagoing vessel arrested for alleged illegal oil bunkering activities. I just feel the case of oil bunkering will never end. Will never end in Nigeria.
It's good that we're seeing these vessels. You know, before you'd always hear that they can't find where these things are. It's a big vessel. How would you not see it?
Seriously.
Like, you don't need anything. How would you not see it? We're not talking about the car getting missing or a truck. We're talking about a vessel. It can't just get missing like that. So I think there's some bit of transparency now to say that, okay, they're actually seeing these things now as they're taken wherever.
Again, even with the vessels that have been found, there are still issues with the oil sector.
Yeah, there's still issues. I feel there will always be issues.
If the vessels are found, and at least it lessens some angles,
some corners, at least some bit of.
Then we can be like, oh yes, they're working. But every day we're hearing news that some vessels are where some people are arrested, vessel seized, vessel burnt down, and still there's no change. Still. Alright, a 29-year-old South African drug trafficker, Erasmus Jean-Pierre, has been arrested in Nigeria for attempting to export 2.6 kg of methamphetamine concealed in his luggage to Middle East Asia through Nigeria. Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
At the age of 29, what were you after? This guy is a kingpin at the age of 29.
That's some what do we call it now?
Moving continents. Yes. You understand?
It's why passing through Nigeria anyway, and it's because, like we keep saying this thing, Nigeria is so porous. Like, but it's good where so that they begin to find alternative routes. Yes, and not Nigeria.
Somebody, my cousin would be like, he's caught maybe because he didn't pay the right amount, so far he's in
yeah, there's also that sentiment, because we know that these things, they will keep moving, but if money doesn't exchange hands in the right direction, you will be caught.
And for politics, remember this is still Monday 28. Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, in the 2023 general elections, has again mocked academic records of President Bola Tinubu. These, I don't think they will ever get up until Tinubu is done with his tenure. I think we keep saying this. Now, the federal government has directed that suspended chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdurrashid Bawa, should be allowed access to his lawyers and family members.
At least he has been remembered.
The case of Bawa, Emefiele, sometimes I would just wonder what is actually the final motives. There are so many other cases that needs to be considered.
Yeah.
But remember, like we everybody knows about that. Permit me to use the word fake plane that was brought to Nigeria and said this is Nigerian, this and that. The case is just under the rug now. That was a mega amount. That was
mega.
And all of a sudden it's just. But when it comes to some few people, that's when you hear they're doing this to?
Yeah, let's ask ourselves the questions. These two people now, Emefiele and Bauer, I think it's because you know how they say you follow the money. I think it is because their own they are about the money, they are about finances. So it's either this is happening because they are being silenced or something. There's always a catch to all of these things, because if we follow by misappropriation of funds or everything, everybody in the past administration in Nigeria as a whole, we should all be here.
Be involved.
Yes, we should all be here. But when you see that it is here,
except one person.
Except
one person.
Who's
I know the previous president might say he's not aware of the whole misappropriation of the funds.
So is he the one going to be exempt?
So talking about previous, one person is exempted.
Okay. He's not aware, so one person is exempted.
All right, that's for Monday 28th.
Yeah, so we move to 29th of August. There's been political drama in Edo State. So the Edo State government has disbanded the media crew attached to the office of the Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. You know, we saw that drama unfold even on live TV, where he was trying to walk out or something. The whole rancor with he and Obaseki is just a serious political sham, if you ask me. In what happens within political parties and all of that, is it demand for loyalty and all? Because the expectation is that this guy should be he shouldn't be ambitious. In essence, he deputy governor, that's what I haven't given you the right or the permission to be ambitious. That's exactly what's happening in Edo State, if you ask me. Well, the by-elections are on the way, so let's see how that unfolds.
Yes.
So the federal government on Monday said all frontline states of the path to River Benue may experience flooding within the next 7 days as a result of opening of the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. Yeah.
The case of we could have been part of the decision body of when to release the water or when to release the Lagdo.
Yeah.
But it was unfortunate that we decided not to be part of those making the decision.
We're paying for this dearly.
Now we just have to be looking at how many I don't want to use the word U-turn. How many times we'll have to be going back to the drawing board to see how
if we're even going
because
back to
every
the drawing
year
board,
we have to look at all these things.
If we're even going back to the drawing board and even doing something when we go back to the drawing board, but Philip, we always go back to this drawing board and come back to the drawing board because this problem has been there since the 1980s. How are we still having this issue? Why can't we just fill up our own end of the bargain, right? And now news came out because we're now thinking, okay, this is going to happen. There is no emergency. There's nothing we can do right now about stopping these floods, right? And the people who are supposed to cater to emergencies to come and say there is no budgetary allocation for flood victims, and yet you are telling the flood victims to evacuate their houses. People who are in the low-lying areas, go where? Do they have IDPs? Where should they go?
I think there should be a permanent way to fix these. Definitely, people will go back to the ancestral homes. So regardless, there should be a permanent
way
where you don't have to wait till another. Because definitely, we are going to look at this thing come next August.
Yes.
So there should be
a
permanent
solution
where
which is
this thing will be just curtailed and
us.
If
they getting our own end of the bargain.
Yes, if they say they will release the dam, we'll be like, oh sure, whenever you're ready, do your thing.
If we've done our own, we hope that the Minister for Works and the meteorological, they should just do something. Because it's actually such a shame that in 2023 we're still having to grapple about these matters. We're talking insecurity, we're talking bad governance, we're talking this, we're talking
and then
a very avoidable flood. No. All right, so let's move on. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the Federal Executive Council to achieve the targets of reviving the economy to make life more bearable for the people. That's an obvious statement. I don't think anybody should be sensitized to do that. It's the only thing you have to do
Me, they should
right
just do
now.
it. I'm tired of them coming out and
Talking.
being like, "We'll do this." That was the same words we heard during their campaigns, and it's
So just get to working. It's the obvious things.
let them just do it.
work. It's the obvious things where we've heard those. It's been flogged so many times, right? All right. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to stop the processing of visas for all government officials seeking to travel to New York for the United Nations General Assembly without proof of direct participation in the official schedule of activities. Yeah, so I think I was happy when I saw this for some reason. At least sometimes you just need some things that will just give yourself, okay, step in the right direction. If you're not invited, why are you going? And this just shows that okay, they don't even have diplomatic passports because they are asking for their visas, asking for their visas not to be stamped because you're going there if you're not invited.
If there's no major reason, maybe
You're
for
going,
health or
yeah. I know this will be seen as the president. This is being seen as the president trying to reduce cost of governance because we know what it will cost when you have more people traveling. But
yes.
this is not as good as this is. We want to see more reduction in the cost of governance. We still want to see more because all we're seeing is the increment. This is just like this is a drop of water in the ocean, if you ask me. Yeah, it may do something. It may have an effect somewhere, somehow, but
maybe
we want to see
this
more.
period.
I feel sometimes some things are just done so that okay, let them just calm down because when you see this, it's like yes.
Yeah, they will
yes,
think we're working.
All right, so last news coming to us on Tuesday that troops of the 144 Battalion have successfully rescued 25 hostages from the captivity of Boko Haram terrorists enclaves in Borno and contiguous states.
It's good at least when you record games.
Yeah.
Than always recording loss.
Yeah.
Every day you're hearing abduction, this and that.
Yeah. 25 hostages that you've brought Suko to homes. Now let's just look at it as 25 people, but you know that some homes, people have come back home, people are united with their loved ones and all of that. We hope that these people that have come back, they get the appropriate care that they need because they need
very important.
Very important that they get their care.
They get the psychological attention.
Yeah,
that
they
very
need
important. If
in
not,
this time.
They are already scarred. I wouldn't want to say for life, but
there's a lot of trauma that will follow these people.
So the PTSD that could be balanced if there is that psychological intervention at least.
Yeah, and that being said, we have an exclusive for you sometime in the course of this show where we talk and deliberate on mental health issues and how to get access and everything. So I guess that interview it's timely for now.
Yes.
So moving on.
And for Wednesday, that's the 30th day of August, and we have the demolition man, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory Administration, Yusuf Wike, said his administration had yet to decide on how to expend the 5 billion naira palliative fund expected from the federal government. Where was it that I noticed a huge security presence, and when asked what was happening, they said Wike is doing his thing. There were just yesterday, and it was.
So this news now is the problem I used to have with I will always have with our politicians and our leaders. You are yet to decide on how to expend the 5 billion.
By this time.
But you fought for it, like you knew what you were going to do. We thank you for fighting on behalf of the people of FCT, so that because he kept saying FCT, they are part of their Nigerians. FCT was not listed among states when they said, and you are yet to. Why?
You know that the another aspect of it is it's taking his time. but people are hungry. I don't know if you understand.
Yes, people are
going
hungry.
through a lot. Well, you are like relaxed. No,
Yeah, well, I'm
let's
still
take
trying
our
to.
time
I've gotten the
understand it.
money sharp, but I still have to think about how to. You should have thought about when
How
you were
many
fighting
will
for
die
the money.
before he will fix or find
When we
a
were
lasting
fighting,
anyway?
because what we're saying now is that we're beginning to see what happened during the COVID, where people are breaking into warehouses and people are cutting away with things for flood relief for 2022, and another flood is on the way, right? And we just hope that we don't say, because we're seeing it is rippling. Every state is beginning to get little of that, where you're hearing, people have gone to this warehouse and they've parted away with
Yeah,
stuff.
the good thing is they know warehouses is the wrong place to keep palliatives. That's a good thing for
It's kept
them.
in cash.
So they can find another alternative, because if they should keep anything in a warehouse and people should get to know about it, it's just a matter of one man getting over hungry,
Yeah,
and then that's just it.
that's just it.
That warehouse could be the target. So if they want it to be peaceful, at least
Let's
should
do
do
the
that as
right
early
thing.
as possible.
Yeah.
Are still on the 30th day of August. That's when it's the officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, as FCTA, have demolished a market called Kaswandere. It has been said that that market has been harboring criminal elements there. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of new board and management team of the Niger Delta Development Commission. This Niger Delta is remember, it was during the panel hearing also that somebody had in the Niger Delta fainted. Yeah. So their heads usually have.
Yeah, there's a lot of money there, so their heads always there are always a lot of, yeah. They're either fainting
that
or
was
they are on
dramatic.
wheelchairs and all of that, because there's a lot of money there. So I don't think defending that money, you can't stand. You'd have to. You can't stand and defend it. You'd have to. You have to. Yeah, it's quite overwhelming to say.
Nigerians can be dramatic.
Yeah.
Nigerian leaders, rather.
Can be dramatic.
The Securities and Exchange Commission on Tuesday sealed the premises of Stock March Investment Limited in Maiduguri, Borno State, over allegations of illegal investment activities. The Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso faction of the New Nigeria's People's Party (NPP) has held a parallel meeting of the National Executive Committee in Abuja to reverse his suspension.
There was some party drama there.
Imagine suspending your party leader.
He's not that's part of the argument, that he's not their party leader. But you know that whoever, it's not a written law, but whoever is the presidential candidate during that time is always seen as the head of the party.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always seen as the head of the party. So it's only natural that he would want to assume that. But whatever happened in the NNPP was, it's for me, to me, it's sort of embarrassing, because there is a lot of party politics going on, and not what do they call it, and them not being, what's the word again, and not being the opposition. We're still doing internal politics. Oh, who is he loyal to? Oh, he's talking to Tinubu, he's meeting with Tinubu, he's doing this, he's doing that, and all of that. It's just quite embarrassing to see that this is still happening when we should be talking about being opposition right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they should consider just moving forward. What's the next thing to look at? What's the next thing to consider?
Yeah. So let's move on quickly to, is that on me?
Okay. Moving to
31st August.
yes.
All right. So a group of senior Gabonese military officers have announced the seizure of power. That's major news coming to us. Coups are everywhere, and it's just a lot right now in Central Africa, in West Africa majorly, and in Celta, and in Central Africa, and I hope that we can talk more in depthly on that. But before we continue, let's go on a quick break. New Dawn will be right back.
The game of polo, it's my life. Polo is good, though I just started and I'm still learning the basics. But I hope to be a pro in this game, and God being by my side, I know everything will be fine. I started 4 months ago. I started stick and ball 4 months ago, though I attended the riding course in Pakistan. I've learned the riding basics, but the game of polo 4 months ago, I started stick and ball. Every day we mount on the horse, we pray, and once we come down, as you can see, I was about ending and I fell from the horse. It's a normal thing. In horse riding, if you don't fall, you've not started yet. So you need to train. You can see I'm sweating, I'm eating banana, it's part of it. You must train, you must eat well, and you must learn properly. I've chosen polo to be my own sport, and I've always looked up to people like General Kazir Fire, General MSA Aliu, Colonel Waibello, and General Laka. A few of them, I've looked up to these people. These are great polo players, and they've always encouraged me to play the game of polo.
Welcome back. You're still watching New Dawn Nigeria, and we're still on our headlines. So he's making the headlines. Before we went on the break, we took the news of the coup in Gabon. This is becoming a trend in West Africa and Central Africa now. This is 2 months. We've had 2 coups, right? And they've been, of course, the first thing that happens now is sanctions.
Yes.
Just begin to
AU,
sanctions from AU just begin to roll out and everything. And like we've said it before, and we cannot stop saying it. Why don't we get to the AU, ECOWAS, and all African leaders? Why don't we get to the root of the problem? The people will not agitate. The people will not come for good governance. Nobody would want to overthrow or outsit a government that is for the people and is helping the people. But this democracy doesn't seem that is actually for the people. That's what I'm saying. That is actually for the people, not the type that we have and the type that we are seeing now. Nobody would want to overthrow, but we're not looking at the core issue, which is that this is a series of bad governance. And how you would know is because the people now begin to be excited about the military ousting their president.
Tired.
They're tired. They've had enough.
Tired.
They've had
They are
enough.
saying it's democratic, but imagine someone being in power for more than a decade or 2 decades, or his father was there and now he's there, and who knows, maybe he's planning his son should be there. And imagine what has been happening in that place.
Because that's the case of Gabon.
And tomorrow you say it's a democratic nation.
It's a democratic nation.
It doesn't.
Because I'm of the, and this may sound very unconstitutional and undiplomatic of me to say, but if Africa as Africans, if we cannot be democratic, maybe we should have no business with this whole civilian rule and everything, because it doesn't seem to be working for the people. The people of Gabon, they are less than 3 million, an oil-rich nation. They should live like the people of Kuwait, if I can say that, because people of Kuwait they're living large. They all are, and they have, it's the same oil. Like somebody asked the other time that when I see all these other Middle Eastern nations, he asked whether our own oil is coconut oil, because it's the same oil. I think bad governance is something that the AU and the ECOWAS should begin to ask themselves: why are these coups becoming more constant? Why are they just here? I don't know. It's not hard to just. It's not hard. And
I know of the fact that other nations that have been in power for a very long time are trying to adjust their
they're beginning to ask themselves, yes, that Rwanda has done it. They're beginning to, and
everybody's now. You start questioning loyalty.
Yeah, and I think is it coerced too in Nigeria has told people, the military people, if you are not loyal, you should leave. You should leave the military if you are not loyal, because everybody's beginning to. You should ask yourself why the military is coming for your government. That's simple. It's simple to ask yourself. And I know the international bodies too, they have to do the whatever they think is diplomatic, but like I'll keep saying, the government is for the people, because using coups to outthrow a bad government is not the solution. But for once, can the international bodies get the plight of the people and just be for the people for once? Is that going to be possible?
Imagine Cameroon. They have been having one president for a very long time,
Very long time.
and you just
82.
wonder till when? Like when will this all stop?
Yeah, you keep changing the constitution. It will not. The truth is, like some people would come out to say maybe this is not which maybe we shouldn't see this as a coup, but we should see this as a revolution, because it's almost like it's not the same kind of coups like we see in the past. It's not the same kind, because somewhere in me I believe that if civilians had the right to hold guns, they wouldn't wait for the military to take over. They will take over.
They will have been that
They will
junta.
take over. Yes, they would have been it. They will take over, and that would have just been chaotic. Let's just have a government that is for the people, and that's simple. We can't overemphasize this. I believe the people there,
And
they know what to do.
If care is not taken, there are other countries that might step up, regardless of whether the president has been there for a while or not. If they sense there is any bad governance, and
'Cause
me saying if care is not taken, I'm including Nigeria.
Yeah.
If care is not taken, things might just
Because
switch.
it's building boldness. It's everybody's like, oh, this is possible. Oh, this is possible. Because
And
before
we
we
thought
think,
it was an oldie this thing, but it can work now.
yeah,
Problem.
this is possible. Anyway, let's hope for the best. Let's hope that this time around the AU and the ECOWAS, they just focus
Other
on
blocks.
they focus on what the root cause is.
And
People
try,
cannot always be
try
wrong.
approaching it even before it escalates to something. Like for instance, if there is any government that is having one person for a very long time, it's about time you call that.
You call yourselves.
And be like,
Yes.
in order to avoid this happening, why don't you do this or do it this way, honorably?
Honorably. You see, you're talking about, because you said the president Ali Bongo came out, and in that his video asking people in his words
Asking his
to
friends.
make some noise, and people are saying, which noise? How do you want people to make some noise? You shut people out of the electoral process. You shut down the internet. You close down the borders and all of that during that process. Which noise do you want people to make?
I've read one news from an French investigative journalist that said he's actually from Nigeria. He's Igbo by tribe, that they took him during the Biafran War, took him and of course gave the president, that's his father. And somehow it happened that out of the so many heirs that man had, he decided to pick this one to be the next president. In as much as they couldn't find his birth certificate, what has to do with the Gabon side. But based on investigation, he is Nigerian.
Oh wow!
According to constitution, someone from another nation can come and of
come.
course be the head of state. But so many stories
That's
unfolding regarding
So many
that.
stories unfolding. All right, so President Tinubu has a reaction on this.
Who knows? Maybe he's your cousin.
Shouldn't be. He shouldn't be, please. He will answer the rot, because why? Why do you do that?
I
Why?
mean, he's Igbo and you're Igbo, yeah?
He shouldn't do that. He shouldn't. Please, it's not. Gabon is not. It's not a monarchy. And you know the funny thing is that let's not waste too much time on this. If Africa or some nations were running a monarchy, because you would have to be forced to paying taxes, right? Of course, in modern day we'll call it taxes, but if you knew that you were supposed to be bringing your bag of coconut, your this thing to the king or the queen or whoever is there, trust me, you would make the environment conducive for these people so that they can work and bring the money back to you. So because that is what will actually happen. You go to people and you go to all these rural areas where it's still a monarchy and all that. The king or the oba or whoever of that place will always make the environment there to thrive for his people, for the people of his kingdom. He will always do that, which is what we are accustomed to, because of course this form of leadership is borrowed, and I'm sorry, but we're flopping at it. We're flopping at it because we don't know whether we're in it or we're out of it. You would have made the environment conducive so that the people under your kingdom, they can farm well, they can do this because they will bring the proceeds to you at the end of the day. It's a matter of ideology. Why don't you just do that?
That's when you hear cases of
Yeah, so there's still news of the Gabonese ousted president, where he has released a video. Of course, most of us have seen that video during the week where he was calling for help and asking for his friends to make some noise. Somehow I was singing a song about it. Coups are not the solution, but the people are tired. That's the truth. Yeah, so the passing of an icon, Pataiwo Akinkunmi, the designer of the Nigerian flag, he passed on I think this was on Wednesday. He passed, and he'll be greatly missed and forever remembered in Nigeria, because as long as the flag of Nigeria stands, which we hope will stand till the end of time. Let us help it to stand. Pataiwo Akinkunmi would always be remembered. Yeah, so the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has dared the leadership of his party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to suspend or discipline him. That was another dramatic episode in the past week. Yeah, dramatic episode.
He has a lot of guts, I would say, when he's because I know there's a part where the person interviewing him was talking about PDP, and was asking who is PDP.
Who is PDP? You know, when we were talking about these people being an opposition, right? If you can remember, and they are being appointed as ministers, right? And these are prominent PDP men.
Yes.
Nyesom Wike and El Rufai, then who didn't make it past, or finally he rejected the appointment. These are the two most controversial governors or people in the PDP. Why did you go for them? That's questionable.
PDP, by the way.
So sorry, that's outside of your party. That is yes. Nyesom Wike of PDP, El Rufai. That was quite. He's one of the most controversial people in the PDP. Why are you bringing him here? El Rufai has his own controversies on a normal day, right? Besides him, whatever party he's in, he's such a controversial. Why? Why did you pick Wike of everybody in PDP?
He played a role, maybe during the fact that APC won in Rivers, yeah?
Yeah.
So at least
And in that interview, he made a statement like that, and those are things that we should question. He made a statement like he worked for Tinubu to win, and there were some allegations in the past of how he was seen doing things, and he was in that to make Tinubu to win in his state. And
it's usually trade by barter. Since you are not contesting for presidency, you're not contesting for governorship, the tenure has elapsed. Why don't you give me your state and I'll give you a position? An ambassador or a minister? Which one? That's it.
And he got it.
And I offered. Well, I've Wike will be like, I've given my end of the bargain. Give me your.
I want the FCT. I want this place needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of construction. It needs a lot of work. And this senior advocate, Boala, spokesman for PDP, has come out and has made rubbish of his appointment and everything he said in that interview. With real cogent point, he has come out to say how he's at his appointment as a minister. If you're a FCT minister, you're a glorified commissioner.
Oh.
That's almost, because just get to work and reduce the noise. And to me, there's an age you will get to, even if it is your class in the society, you don't make too much noise. You just get to working.
Let your work speak.
Let your work speak. You don't get to working and bantering and
Just like his demolition now, he's talking more than him saying he will demolish. Let it work.
exactly, let it work. All right, so still on, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has announced that the long-awaited Blue Line Rail will start commercial operations this month. That is September the 4th. And I hear that this is starting with him as the first passenger of the Blue Rail. I cannot wait to experience this someday in Lagos. I think it's going to help a lot with the traffic and all of that goes on in Lagos. And the last news, the National Working Committee of the New Nigeria People's Party has refuted the purported suspension of Rabiu Kwankwaso, the 2023 presidential candidate of the party. Yeah, that's the last we have for the 31st of August on our.
And for September 1st, President Bola Tinubu has claimed the option of military intervention in Niger Republic will not be considered until all diplomatic options are exhausted. This is trading with caution. If not, it wouldn't be a good sight. The House of Representatives Thursday vowed to involve the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) to investigate the owner of the bank account allegedly being used to extort vice chancellors of federal universities. That has to do with the IPPIS.
Yeah. This was a very
Controversial.
Yeah, it was a very controversial because these guys, they've been making the news. They've been making the news a lot. The committee has been working, and now there are now allegations that the committee is getting kickbacks and also. Let's see where this investigation ends. So the committee has come out to say, no, this is going to be the best out of this committee in the history that you will see. To come and answer and.
Since there's no smoke without fire, so if there are news about kickbacks, there is that possibility of kickbacks. Well, anyway, who are we to judge? And the owner of the social media platform X, that's formerly Twitter, Elon Musk, has announced plans to add video and audio call feature to the app. Imagine. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has suspended the controversial Nigerian Air Project and airport concession embarked upon by the immediate past president. I don't think suspending it should be looked into.
Yeah.
Not suspended.
This is another story that just keeps Nigerians disappointed.
It shouldn't be suspended. It should be looked into.
Investigate. Why are you suspending?
That's when everybody will be brought to the table.
Yeah.
Like,
investigate everything from picture to the billions. Why? Because this is, at the end of the day, this will just be why I can't seem
the
to.
The former minister was Adi Strika, yeah.
Yes.
And he's on a normal note, at least it should be looked into.
Yeah, it should be looked into.
Why did this turn out this way? How did it occur? Or who even brought the idea? And then while they are asking them this question, someone should be out there preparing cells. You understand?
Because the moment you were picking, what I expected to see when this government came into power was a lot of arrest. Because I feel like that is the only thing that people need to see, so that they begin to take redress and caution.
Yes.
At the moment you are picking Emefiele, you are picking Bawa, you are picking everybody, especially this Nigeria, because it was such a global embarrassment.
You should have a ripple effect.
Yes, you should pick everybody. Let us know that
others should be involved.
This is equity and balance. Pick everybody that you know has been involved in some fraudulent activity. We're not talking, before we used to talk of millions in Nigeria now. Fraudulent allegations now running into billions. That's not something that we should just walk over. You
they are usually
suspend.
running in billions.
Yeah, you suspend, and this doesn't make news for us. This is not what we want to hear. Let us hear that a panel has been set to investigate.
See, I don't. Yeah, I'm tired
You
of
have
all
gotten
this
hope, losing
committee
hope
and
on
panel
committee.
that they are just
That's another
because to
prolonged.
form another committee, definitely there will be you guys will have to pay those committee for setting up that committee. Now these are another funds going somewhere. Let's just cut this chase. The courts are there.
Yeah,
Where is this money? Bring us proof that you
bring
did
us
this, you
proof.
did this, you did this. Your lawyer should do all that. At the end, let the panel in the court, you understand, decide whether you are right or wrong.
Or wrong.
And that justifies it. If committee comes in, as usual, kickback flows.
Kickbacks,
It's
yeah.
just talking about percentage. Okay, the whole thing is 10 billion naira. So how much is left now? 2 billion naira. The 2 billion won't be enough. Checking your account, bring another 1 billion. Give us, and that's the end of the case.
Yes, that's what you because Phillips discussing things in Nigeria. It sets you emotionally back a lot of times because what are you you're suspending something that was non-existent. What are you suspending? Anyway.
All right. Finally, Governor Ubasani of Kaduna State on Wednesday expressed concern over the ethnic religious division in Kaduna State. At least, the whole security, insecurity, banditry, and all that. We've not heard serious cases. I don't know whether they are regrouping or they are getting more offensive treats from the Nigerian security agencies.
Yeah.
Whether ethnic, religious, or whatever situation that it's affecting Kaduna.
Kaduna should just thrive.
Yes.
Yeah. Kaduna should just thrive. That's what's important.
Well, I feel that's about the size of the headlines for today. You can get more of those stories from their platform, their online platform, of course, or any vendor close to you, and get more details of that, and of course other follow-ups. That well, this is still the new dawn, and we'll be going on a break. There will be more exciting packages up next. Don't go nowhere.
Welcome back. This is still New Dawn Nigeria on viewer television, and we have a very fantastic um, little story packaged for you on rejuvenative farming. And our in-house correspondent, Patient CD, was in the field live to give us footages and give us stories of because. You know, like farming, there's a lot of flooding and all of that where
Insecurity.
that is expecting.
I
Yes.
heard the clashes and
Yeah,
crisis.
so do we have alternatives, safer way to farm because our agricultural sector is not something we should play with because we need to eat.
You know, people usually think for you to farm, you have to go to the village where at least
Yeah.
you find a lot of vast empty space so that you farm.
That's the face of
Not-
agriculture.
Yes, but it is confirmed, and okay, in other aspects, when someone hear you in Abuja and your family, you'll be like, how?
Where is the village? Where
Yes.
is the
So this package explains the fact that you can still farm even if you're in Abuja or wherever you are, that you think the possibility of farming it's zero.
Yeah.
So
And it makes it attractive, especially for the youth, because the youth, the young ones, when you hear farming, like you say, the first thing in your mind is village. Yes, I know somebody who was, I think it was former President Obasanjo, who, when he's been talking about we have to diversify the economy into agriculture, he kept talking about how to make it attractive for the youth. That being said, why didn't we listen to President Obasanjo to diversify our economy to agriculture?
the thing is, we didn't listen to
Why?
so many previous presidents
We didn't.
when they said, "Don't vote the next
That's
person."
not, yeah.
When they said,
didn't.
"Don't vote the next person," we'll just go and vote.
We
next
didn't
person,
listen.
usually. So there are so many things that they kept on telling
Telling
us.
us.
This is the way
I'm
out.
sure now,
This is the way
it's
out.
just
But
in
we'll
his
be like,
utter farming.
"No."
You guys are telling you people, let's move to farming.
You know, when he was talking about farming those days, people thought he wanted to promote his personal farm. Thereby, when he stopped, I think importation and exportation of some goods, a lot of the vast perception was of the fact that he wants to boost his own farm.
His own
And
farm.
they made it in a way that you will think it's like it's only Obasanjo's farm that is in
That is
Nigeria.
great.
You
Yes,
understand?
yeah.
Other people don't have any farm, so it's only Obasanjo's farm.
And the funny thing is, it's just greed, because what is wrong with him if it is to the benefit of all of us largely? I'm sure now, benefit of hindsight, we know that it was going to be for the benefit of all of us. It's so difficult now anyway, but there is hope at the end of this tunnel, and this mini documentary gives us a lot more insight on rejuvenative farming and how you can possibly go into rejuvenative farming. Enjoy.
The northern parts of Nigeria is adjudged the most vulnerable to climate change than the southern parts of the country. In the Sahel savanna zones of northern part of Nigeria, land is being lost to wind erosion and desert encroachment, increasing the risks of damaging food systems that are already vulnerable. SCL Farms hopes to change this with a new system of regenerative agriculture after more than 4 years of practically setting up more than 10 hectares of this kind of farming. Regenerative agriculture is fast becoming a system of agriculture that most farmers are adopting to. Right here at the SCL farm in Kwali Area Council, Abuja, we're going to show you how these crops are being farmed.
The intention of the project in the farm is to find something that resonates with the common farmer. So when we started, we have the MBS system, we have the veterinary system, which is the India model. We played around with it until we came to something that is as simplified as possible, that the ordinary farmer can understand.
The intention is to train farmers to adopt the age-long practice of mixed cropping to grow staple and cash crops by planting the plants in their mind first.
Actually, agroforestry systems are based on integrating the trees into the crop systems. So we started implementing different systems, but we started realizing that actually this system here with 3 rows every 6 meters is the most favorable one, the easiest one to implement in a non-irrigated structure. So this system basically functions with 3 rows every 6 meters. This is the perennial part. And in these 3 rows we actually try to accumulate a lot of plants to densify, to have a very high diversity in the row, and we are having a stratification of the plant.
A tour of the veterinary and Brazilian agroforestry system adopted on the farm proves to be very revealing, as every plant is carefully planted with consideration for the existence of another.
So eat the seed?
Yeah.
Wow, Aki apple. I've never seen a tree before.
How many plants do you have
For this, for the
for the
Aki.
whole of the farm?
Aki apple.
Different.
Wow, these are the nursery plants.
This is olive tree. You can see
Oh wow.
olive tree. So it's been nursery as well. This purple, it just take maybe 8 months.
So we decided to talk, how do we take or how do we roll out what we are doing in here to the communities and it be as simple as possible.
Currently, there are over 90 students who are being trained on the facility as part of the MasterCard Foundation funded resilience project called Project Juria.
Here is a community program that we did for the community in order to teach them the best way to farm, no longer monocropping. Here we have a variety of crops that have been planted here, that which you can harvest continuously. Not like normal cropping system in which when you harvest, you leave the land to life flow.
Thank you. Just make sure you keep your shape. Keep your shape. So, Kazaki made the shoulder, madam.
The 5-year project, which takes off this year, aims to impact 72,000 smallholders farmers spread across 360 Nigerian communities in the 3 states of Adamawa, Kaduna, and Nasarawa State. 75% of the number will be young people, out of which 70% will be young women.
With all you have seen, one can easily tell that regenerative agriculture is one system of farming that farmers should adopt. Patient City, Viewer Television.
Very insightful piece there put together by Patient CD on rejuvenative farming, and we hope that helped you a lot. Phillips, there's a concern, right? Which is, of course, it's a known concern on unemployment. Right? And I know one time we took this interview where the Ideas project, where they're beginning to teach schools and technical schools. You're revamping technical schools so that there's emphasis on skill acquisition.
Yes.
So that we don't have unemployed graduates who do not have something to do with their hands to put food on their table. I know it was Elon Musk, who is the multi-billionaire, who said he would rather have a kid that doesn't have a thumb or a finger because he's using his hands to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, the technical college used to be somehow helpful in the sense that a child will go to secondary school and all of a sudden he doesn't feel like going to university just because he knows how to do this and that, and he's set up. But now that place is just, I just need my results, my laptop, and that's just it.
Yeah.
And the aim is definitely being defeated when it's been made to at least address unemployment and all that, but the rate of unemployment has just skyrocketed lately, and it's alarming to the growth of the economic status in Nigeria.
Like talking about alarming, it's also very concerning when like the NBS will come out and say if you work for an hour a day, you are employed. You are seen as an employed citizen of Nigeria. That's I don't know where the hope we have is, because what kind of work are you working for? When you finish that job of 1 hour, it's important that you take your hands and go and do something, get a skill and work for the remaining how many hours that you have in your 24 hours. Please, any job you would work for 1 hour, be it a smart job or any kind of job, it is not enough. Please do something with your hands. And that's what our next documentary put together by Percy Debung. He took on stories of how skill acquisition is bridging the gap of unemployment in Yola State, and we know that this Yola is just Adamawa State here in Yola. This is just it's just a lens into what happens all around the country, so it is applicable everywhere else. Yeah, so we're leaving you in the hands of Percy Debung.
Unemployed and facing lack of opportunities, a group of young people are now actively involved in shoemaking business in Nigeria's northeastern city of Yola, Adamawa State. The young entrepreneurs have been inspired by a government decision to promote the production and consumption of locally made products as a way of improving the economy. Joshua's shop opened 20 years ago, aiming to help destitute young men off the street by teaching them a craft. Then the Boko Haram insurgency broke out. The insurgency may have taken away a lot from Nigerians, but it hasn't dented Joshua's passion. Joshua and many other young men remain resilient and ensure their businesses are not crippled. The brainchild of Joshua, the shoemaking business, isn't bringing in as much as it used to, but Joshua says business is slowly starting to pick up again.
As when I come here during insurgency, people have no work doing, and when they start coming, they are patronizing us. They say, this your shoe is good. Then from there, business is picking small. I didn't see any problem that would make me to move out, because business is still there. If you can work, you can get something out of what you are doing, and people are coming. Because that time they say, Boko Haram is in Gombe or some, people are start running. But me, I didn't even think of running. I said I will stay, because nothing will happen. And by the grace of God, nothing has happened. Up to now, we are doing our business, no problem.
Despite a high rate of unemployment caused by economic and political wars and an active insurgency that lasted for over a decade, young entrepreneurs are finding ways to make use of limited resources for a living. The difficult economic situation has pushed people to work even harder. Ebitayo, a youth corps member, is an apprentice at Joshua's shop. He believes the economy can only thrive if young graduates become industrious.
The insurgents, a lot of business crippled, but some people are trying to bring up themselves very well, and the economy will not build itself. It's actually we that will build the economy. Even if insurgents has affected and destroyed the economy, we will still be the ones to build it. And how are we going to build it? By getting 1 or 2 jobs done. So imagine now I open my own fashion brand and I employed 5 people. I've affected the economy positively. At least 5 people are out of unemployment. And if another person started another thing and employed maybe 2 people, before you get to know it, there are jobs everywhere. But if everybody is waiting for the white collar job, where will the economy or improvement come from? Where will the job come from? And as we know, there is no job anywhere.
A pair of shoes sells between 1,500 naira to 3,000 naira, an affordable price for residents looking to take advantage of cheaper locally made products. The business has steadily gained following among local residents who say they prefer to buy locally made shoes to imported ones.
The handmade shoe lasts longer because even towards my wedding, he was the one that designed the shoe for me, and up to today, I still wear it. Starting from if I'm going for my business, church activities, and even social occasion, I use the same shoe up to today. And even my wife, he have designed a nice shoe for her, and up to today she still wear it. We have tried some of the shoes at the showroom and compare the price. That one is higher and it can't last long like the one that he usually made with his hand.
So many other youths are actively involved in this business. One of such people is Hamza Hamman. Despite being a graduate, Hamman decided to go into shoemaking as against the status quo of waiting endlessly for white-collar jobs. Hamman has been in this business for over 5 years now and has also trained many youths in the shoemaking business.
As a graduate, I made up my mind at least to learn something as in handwork, and in order to sustain myself from my day-to-day activities. So I decided to join that work in order for me to at least sustain myself. As you can see, we construct new ones and we also rehabilitate the old ones. Had it been that now you brought your shoe as an old shoe, we can able to mend it for you, repair it for you, and we can also produce new ones, such as all these desert boots you are seeing, such as palms and what have you. Any other type of shoe, we can able to do it here. Yes,
he has these kind words for unemployed graduates.
I would like to use that medium to encourage my fellow graduates not to relent or not to rely on white-collar jobs alone. We have many other jobs out there. At least what is expected of you as a fresh graduate is for you to start up somewhere with the little, more especially nowadays, our graduate, as a graduate, if you went to your service, you receive not less than 19,800, and that amount is not an amount that is expected for you to lavish everything, and at the end of the day you finish up your service without 10 naira. At least max, and you know, reserve something, no matter how little it is. Try and start up somewhere. Even the recharge card, you can buy your 400 naira card, later on you now make it.
The Jamaica Shopping Complex is playing host to hundreds, if not thousands of young people involved in different businesses. These businesses have so far created so many jobs to young people in the state, thereby reducing the rate of unemployment. While some are into shoemaking, others are mobile phone engineers. With more of this effort by the youths and a little support from the government and the private sector, these young men will not only be self-reliant, but become employers of labor.
inakwaje kama ya neno wamono okungwali boy katienti iluzia buloa onyome bezi nani go okungwali boy katienti jebo iluzia wolo nana mwane mebe onyome bezi nani go Ogazi amaka wejina gomo Ogazi amaka wejina Osili onyama Mkenkenyi jine Ekeke na lojika isabalo Aji ashakata na mulu Sakebeno Aji asalebe Beno Asadebe na ya mulu Hope I'm using no chilling was a little more. No more. My name is Bene.
Hello and welcome. This is viewer exclusive. This program is packaged exclusively for you. Now, mental health is gradually becoming an issue of concern in Nigeria and globally. How do you assess the state of your mental health or that of a loved ones? What's causing your mental health to be unstable and how can you get help? My name is Chinonso Pam and I'll be asking an expert all these questions on your behalf right after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to viewer exclusive. So like I mentioned today, we're asking critical questions on mental health. And I have with me in the studio a clinical psychologist with 7 years experience. And she's no other than Dosu Chen. Dosu Chen, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and joining us in the studio this morning because this is a very critical issue that I think our viewers and all of us need questions answered, right? And you seem to be the best person with 7 years experience. No one can give us these answers but you. All right, so let's begin by asking what mental health is. Right? What is mental health?
Okay, so I'll answer that question by saying what mental health is not.
Okay.
Right? Because when we begin the conversation of what is mental health, many people, their minds just go to, the madman on the street.
Yeah.
That is, you can't control, you get. But there's a classic definition by the World Health Organization. And it says that it's a state of well-being, right? Where an individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with normal stressors of life, can work productively in his environment or in his community, and is able to make meaningful contribution in that community. So it's an overall state of well-being. It's not the absence of mental illness. It's an overall state of well-being where you can cope with the regular stresses of life, you can contribute meaningfully. That's what mental health is about. It's not focused only on people that have lost it, have lost touch of their consciousness. No.
That's what. So then, at what point? So what then is the mental health issues? When we say people have mental health issues, what then is that?
So mental health issues have to be diagnosed. You cannot self-diagnose yourself that you have mental health issues.
Oh, really?
Mental health issues have to be diagnosed by a trained psychologist, a trained psychiatrist, a trained psychiatric nurse, right? Those are the people that are on top of the ladder when we talk about diagnosing mental health issues. And they don't just happen for a specific period and then you just conclude. So for every of the disorder or every mental health illness, there's a duration, some 2 weeks, some, and you have to be experiencing these symptoms for 4 weeks straight, for 6 weeks straight. There's a diagnostic manual that these professionals use. If you fit the criteria, for some illnesses, maybe 3 out of 7 criteria. Once you hit that criteria, before you can now be declared to have mental health illnesses like maybe schizophrenia, eating disorders or anxiety or those kind of things.
So you mentioned symptoms and you say you cannot self-diagnose, because I one of the questions I want to ask is, if you can self-assess yourself, right, and say, okay, I think I am not performing at my best, right? Like, because I think I would have to feel some symptoms first. So what are those symptoms that I can know and know that, okay?
So there are instances, right? You know yourself. You know, just like, I like to talk about mental illness in relation with physical illness.
Okay.
So if you're coming down with symptoms that look like malaria, you're going to have joint aches, you're going to be nauseous or something, you begin to check those boxes yourself, right? So for mental illnesses, it's not exactly different. For the ones that you have not lost consciousness, because when it gets fully blown, for some of them, you will not even be in touch with reality any longer. So when you begin to observe that there is changes in your eating habits, perhaps you're eating too much, or you're eating too little, or you don't even have an appetite at all, you begin to tell yourself that something is going on, right? You're losing sleep. And perhaps maybe there's nothing really on your mind, but you can't seem to sleep. Or even when you sleep, you don't wake up feeling rested, right? Yes. So, or you're sleeping too much. Right? You just don't want to do anything. You don't have any drive to do anything. You just want to be in bed for the whole day, and you are sleeping, right?
And you're not intentionally telling yourself, I want to rest, I want to do
exactly.
this.
It's because you just don't have drive for life, right? So those are little telltale signs that you can begin to check and begin to ask yourself, okay, what is happening to me? And if you do because I believe that the first time this is happening may not be the first time ever, right? You also want to check that you're not taking any drug that is making you feel this way. So this is not a side effect of any drug, right? You're also checking to be sure that other emotions, perhaps you lost someone, it's not a grieving process, right? When you begin to check, when your body tells you that something is going off, then that's the point where you can begin to ask yourself, and please don't ask Google.
ask yourself.
As intelligent as that is, right? As helpful as that could be sometimes, right? You want to speak to yourself first and then begin to confide in friends. Sometimes you don't know how much support you get from a friend, and it helps you with whatever situation it is that you're going
you're
through.
talking, because we're talking about mental health, and then I'm now saying, like you're saying, you tell yourself, if your mental health has gotten to the point where you cannot tell yourself these things and people around you can see, how can people around you help to observe and know that, okay, how can I access somebody's mental health and know that, okay, this person this is a mental issue. This is not, is it the same parameters that I used to
So
assess myself?
yes. So those same parameters, right? And sometimes the person has already lost touch with reality when they begin to talk to themselves. You're just talking irrationally and behaving irrationally, or they have even grown to the point where they are hallucinating and they are having some delusions as well. You get, so when you add in hallucinations, delusions, that person has already lost touch of reality. So only the people around them, their family, their friends, their colleagues, those are the people that can help them at that time.
Okay, so this symptoms, you've exempted things like you're reacting to a drug, you're grieving, you're mourning. So what are now things that can cause people to get to this state? Because I feel like some people can mourn and don't go out of that mourning period, right? Even if you're grieving, but you still don't come out of that grief. But besides all of that, what are the things that happen, your environment or internally, that cause someone to begin to have mental disorders?
So there are biological factors, right? There are hereditary factors. If you have a family or you come from a family, and this is not derogatory, if you come from a family with a history of mental illness, there's a high chance of you as well. So there's the genes, there's the brain chemistry that you inherit from your parents. Those are things that you cannot control. Once it's triggered, it can lead to mental illness. Life experiences such as trauma, rape, witnessing a natural disaster. Perhaps you were in a location and the earth quaked, right? Or coming from violence, you get in your presence, they slaughter your entire family. Those are deep traumatic experiences that can trigger mental health issues, right? Family history, I've mentioned that already. Poor family support, no connection with family, no connection with friends. People are just living in their own world. We're not meant to live like that. So those are all the things that can trigger that. Social disadvantages, severe long-term illnesses as well, right? You are having to go through perhaps paralysis or blindness. Someone who was used to taking care of themselves and then suddenly is blind and is totally dependent on individuals. If not managed well, all of those things, discrimination, stigmatization, all of that can lead to mental illnesses. Substance use and abuse. Substance problems right now are serious causes of mental illnesses. And the way young people indulge in these things, we really don't know what we're playing with, right? So
okay, so many questions to ask from what you let me start to draw them out one by one, because I like us to talk extensively on trauma. And because you've mentioned you've seen your entire family being slaughtered, we know how the whole banditry and everything is affecting people. So it's just making me imagine how many people are going through those kind of mental health issues because they've had to witness all of those things. But now, help us understand what trauma is and mental illness. Are they one and the same?
There are mental illnesses that are a result of trauma. So I'm sure you've heard things like post-traumatic stress disorder. So what that means, simple terms, is there was a traumatic experience and this reaction is a post-reaction of a traumatic, yes. So in very simple terms, I know the word trauma, we throw it around, we joke with it a lot. But I don't think we should do that. Traumatic experiences are emotional reactions, after you witness something that your mind cannot comprehend, or it's overwhelming on your mind. So the same way you have a cut on your body, so that's like a cut on your emotions as well, right? So that's what a traumatic experience is. So someone who has gone through rape, someone who has seen war, someone who has been abused, different forms of abuse, gone through a car accident, right? All of those things can lead to traumatic.
So
category.
explain to us how, because we see sets of people, right? Because you said this is biological too, and we see sets of people who have gone through the same thing, right? And they don't all react in the same way, right? So explain to us why, because I just feel like if we have to go through this, then all of us should be having mental health disorders. So explain to us what happens, why this set of people are not affected by some things happening and this other set of people.
Thank you so much for that experience, for that question, because I forgot to add that when I was talking about it. What is traumatic for Mr. A must not necessarily be traumatic for Mr. B.
Why is that?
It's just how we're all different, right? I mean, even physically, we are stronger than each other. Like, we're all not on the same level, right? So yes, both of us can actually go through the same experiences, and you would come out traumatic, and I would not, right? Our threshold is just different, right? For some people, they have built up so much. A lot of traumatic experiences have happened to them, and they didn't take care of themselves. So it just kept adding, And then one little trigger, right, they just come crashing down, right? But what trauma, basically, one underlying sentence when you talk about trauma is we're different. So what may traumatize Mr. A must not necessarily be traumatic for Mr. B.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk extensively on prevention, but before, so that we don't miss this, are you saying that it is possible that you have more people come out of a situation positively because they are receiving care?
Oh, yes. Incidentally, one of the reasons why Mr. A may be traumatic and Mr. B was not traumatic may actually be that Mr. B went through, had a stronger support system, right? And so he was loved after the traumatic incident. He was taken care of. He was conscious of what was going on. But not necessarily, that could be a factor. But primarily, it's possible that what traumatized A, B can go through it and come out strong. No, yes.
Okay, a lot of questions to ask, especially on how our childhood affects our mental health as adults. But let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go more into this conversation. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Viewer Exclusive, and we're live in conversation with Dosu Chen, a clinical psychologist, and she's giving us in-depth analysis, and I don't know what to call it, about mental health and mental health issues, right? So I'm going to ask a question because I'm one of those to not give people an excuse for your childhood, especially adults, to give adults an excuse for the way they behave and they blame it on their childhood, right? So I would want to know how our childhood affects our mental health now as adults. Not as, I will come back to us as, okay, let's start from childhood mental issues. Is mental health issues prevalent in children?
Oh, yes.
It is?
Yes.
In children?
Yes, there's a field, just the same way you have pediatricians, there's a field of psychology that is just about mental health issues that children go through.
What possibly causes that? They are children. I feel like you're not, I feel stress is just for us, adulting. What's a child's reason for being mentally ill?
I said that some of these things are hereditary. So I'll start from there. Okay. Perhaps the child inherited this from their parents, and it's already started manifesting while the baby is a baby, right? It's a possibility. Children also go through trauma, right? If a 1-year-old witnesses death for instance.
A 1 year old?
Yes. It's going to do something to the child.
Is the 1 year old aware?
Yes, he's aware.
Wow.
Yes, he's aware.
I feel, because I feel this is a concern, I'd like us to dwell a little bit on it. What are the signs that people should
sorry
see
to cut you.
Yeah.
Children are just little human beings. I always like to, when talking with parents and caregivers, I remind them that children, they go through what you're going through. I mean, a child growing up in an abusive environment could cause a traumatic experience for the child, right?
While he's a child.
While he's a child, yes. While he's a child, yes. Because that age is the formative age where information is being formed. So a child that grows up in a family where he sees his father abuse or beat his mother every time, you're writing a script on that child. You're telling that child that this is normal. So the child is going to also grow up to inflict pain. If it's a boy, we inflict pain on a girl. Yes, because that's
so
what is normal.
our environment, even as children.
Oh yes,
very
so
vital
I just mentioned hereditary.
Yeah.
Right, the genes part that we cannot control because we didn't choose our parents, and then the environment. These are Siamese twins that affect the development of any child, and also can determine if that child is going to have mental health issues that may start even at that level of being a child, or will wait to manifest when the child is an adult.
So this affects us, yes, this affects us
Yes,
when
it
we're
does.
adults.
Yes,
it
it
affects
does.
us when we're adults. And even while you are because I sometimes I feel like somebody, you are now an adult, you're responsible for, like someone will say, you're responsible for what you know and what you do not know, right? So the things that happen to us as children have come to affect us as adults.
Absolutely.
Even while we know what we know.
Absolutely.
Okay, if it lasts that long, is there a way that these things, while we are now adults, because we can't wipe, I'm just guessing, we cannot wipe those memories or the trauma or whatever that have followed us on from when we were children. Is there a way to reverse these things?
Reverse is not the word. We can use the word treatment. Or management. Treatment suggests that it can be treated, but not every condition can be treated.
Because you hear people say, this one is already an adult, it's impossible to correct the wrong that was done decades ago.
I don't believe that. I believe, I'm a firm believer that, okay, so let me bring in another dynamic, right? A child who was introduced to alcoholism before the child was 5 years old, right? And if you know something about alcohol, is the word tolerance also comes when you talk about alcohol or drug abuse. So what you took, maybe one glass and you were intoxicated, by next week you will need 3 glasses because your tolerance level has built, right? So for a child like that grew up in an environment where alcohol, where drugs were abused, that's a child that is going to grow up in a world where he's constantly looking to be high, because that's his reality.
That is, yeah. So as adults,
so you can manage those conditions, right?
Yeah.
Some of them can be treated depending on how intense it is. Like I said, treatment suggests finality. But sometimes they can only be managed, and the individual, let's go back to our definition of mental health, can be able to still live a productive life, still contribute meaningfully to the society, although he has a mental illness that he is managing.
Okay, because one thing I want you to help us do is to draw a line between someone having a mental disorder and somebody who has lost it, right? Because we know that we're in a society where when you mention mental health, so that's one of the reasons why we want to create this awareness. Once you say, somebody has a mental health issue, the first thing that comes to mind is, this person needs to be in chains and stuff, to help us to draw a line between where somebody's just having a mental disorder or somebody has a full-blown psychiatric issue.
No, when it's a full-blown psychiatric issue, it's most times the person is not even in touch with reality any longer. Whereas you take care of your mental health just the same way you take care of your physical health. I don't know if this is the time to talk about how you can care for your mental health, right? Because if you don't take care of your mental health, then it can lead to full-blown mental illnesses.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the definition by WHO said you can manage normal stressors of life, because everyday life comes with its normal stressors. So you should, as an individual, be able to manage it. For some people, it's exercise. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's just consciously eating healthy, and the spiritual connection as well, you get. But those are all the ways that we used to take care of our mental
Okay,
health.
so let's talk about thank God I didn't lose this thought. Anxiety, you hear someone who has not gone through depression or anything for a long time, full-blown adult, who doesn't have all this childhood trauma and the person says, I had anxiety. What's anxiety and what causes that in just adults?
Oh yeah, anxiety is fear. Fear, right? For some people, fear of the future. For some people, it's there are many causes. Again, we'll go back to the gene. We'll go back to what is happening in the environment, and yes, people can become anxious,
and it will just come.
Yes,
it will just come on.
Yes,
nothing. Is there a trigger or anything?
Oh yeah, there are the life experiences.
Sorry,
the life experiences can lead someone to have to become anxious.
Okay.
But again, if you notice, I have been shying away from big words like depression, those words that we throw around.
Yeah. So
I
that's
have
why
been
I
shying
asked,
away from it because these things have to be diagnosed. Because you're having or you're feeling a certain way doesn't automatically mean
you're depressed.
You're depressed, right? When you look at the criteria for someone to be diagnosed with depression, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It has to be really, and not just a lot, it has to span a certain period of time, consistently, non-stop.
Then we can say,
before the professionals now begin to declare that, we're beginning to query depression, right?
Okay.
That doesn't mean that people are not going through it, right? But before we label ourselves, before we label other people, let's know what we're doing.
Lastly, before we let you go, talk to us on prevention and care of our mental state.
So prevention, well, once you're alive, you have a mental health, right? So what is important is, how do you care for your mental health? Exercise, the effect or the good that exercise does to us cannot be overemphasized. And when you talk about exercise, what comes to mind is to hit the gym, but that's not necessarily it, right? Find a routine. If it means walking 4,000 steps in your environment, find a routine and be consistent with it. That is what is important. Your diet, watch what you're eating, because what you're eating has a way to affect your mood as well. So be conscious of what you're eating and find time to relax. What relaxation may mean to you may be different from me. For some people it's yoga, some people it's some level of exercise, just connection with your friends and family, your loved ones. Don't isolate yourself, right? Eat well, sleep well. Netflix and our phones, that's another conversation for another time. All those things are very good. They are very informative, but they deprive us of very important sleep time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen, for this time. If we get this conversation, we'll keep going for hours and hours because there's a lot to talk about on mental health. We hope this has been informative and you take care of yourself. Until I come your way again, this is viewer exclusive. Bye-bye. This is where I draw the curtains. My name is Chinonso Pam. Join us again next week on New Dawn Nigeria.
And of course, my name is Phillips Livin. It's a brand new month and of course, new quarter. It doesn't matter what the rest of the 8 months had been, whether rough or good, regardless, what happens tomorrow justifies what could be from your future. So forget about what happened in the past and of course, forge ahead and have a lovely new month and of course, new quarter. From our angle, we are saying do enjoy the rest of your day.